And for my next trick, I'm going to install these eBay, Amazon cheapy fog lights in our Mk4 Jetta because, well, let's face it, even with E-code headlights, the light from these is just bad. Anyway, these things snap in place of these factory little deals here, and I have no idea how much light they're actually going to put out, but it can't be worse than what's already coming out of these things. So we're using a combination of an ECS tuning wiring harness to use the factory fog light switch with the E-code switch there. So we're going to have to run a wire into the dash through a grommet back through there. And then we are also going to use the auxiliary wiring kit that came with this thing because it's got some connectors in there that are useful. So it'll be a little bit of a hodgepodge of the two. We'll crimp them together, make them work, and we'll have some better illumination tonight. We'll check out what that looks like. So theoretically, these things just like kind of pop out. There's a couple of tabs you squeeze, and there we go. Out of the way. I'm just going to do a test fit with these. So there's little wiring pigtails on the end that will connect to the harness that came with them, but they should just sort of go in place and hang out here, theoretically, if they work as expected. Well, not super stoked on the fit. But what do you expect from like eBay and Amazon? So this is some cheap Chinese made copy of factory fog lights you can get elsewhere. So, I mean, it technically fits, but I wouldn't trust it to just sit there. So I'm probably gonna secure at least this side of it with something additional. Yeah, just see, it wants to clip in, but it doesn't. So I don't know what is in the way here. It's preventing it from actually snapping here, where it's supposed to. And press it in. Oh, there we go. So it just took a little bit of extra maneuvering. No, it's really not very secure. It's gonna pop out the first time I hit a bump. Look at that. Yeah, so I'm gonna end up putting a screw in there just to secure it on the one. This side seems pretty tight. This side, I can put a screw out of sight, out of mind up here for peace of mind, and that should keep it in place when we do the install, but I still have to run the wiring. So we'll run the wiring first, test for function, and then we'll make sure that it all bolts in place in a happy way. So we're gonna fish the wiring harness through here, and then I'll secure it afterwards, but just get it all the way across underneath to where this fog light is gonna be. There. So we got some extra, leave some room so I can zip tie it out of the way. And then on this side, that's where it's gonna connect. I'm gonna use this grabby tool to go down through from the top, grab this end and pull it up. Okay, got both threaded through, and now I can worry about doing with this. I'm gonna worry about the blue harness wire. This is the activator wire that goes to the switch in the dash. So I'm gonna fish it through. There's a grommet under there that works. It makes sense. So I'll fish it through there and bring it through the dash. One of the ways some people do it is stick it through the same hole as the hood cable. And that's doable also, but I think there's a better one. This one has the same issue where this side clips in great, but this side not so much. So we'll go ahead and put a screw under there. Okay, so they look all right, you know, subtle, but they're there. Now let's deal with the wiring. Now, in addition to the fog lights I'm installing here, these headlights I'm using have factory fog lights installed in them, but they're not wired because this was a non-fog light car. So in addition to running the auxiliary harness down to these, I'm also going to run the wiring to these. So if you disconnect your factory harness here, pin number 2, which is indicated by the number 2 right there, you need to use a pick and pull out the little green plug that is taking up the spot right now where you're going to plug in your wiring adapter. So just using a pick, get rid of the rubber plug. There we go, the rubber plug is out. We don't need that anymore. This nice, almost long enough wire is going to come across and plug into that. And so I'm just gonna, I'll come back and reroute it so that it's not interfering with stuff, but this will be fine. And it just plugs in to that position there. It's got its new plug that will waterproof it, seal it. If I remember, these are a little picky. So, all right, so the purple retainer, that's got to be out of the way. That will prevent you from adding a new connector. So that comes out, and then this should be much happier about sliding into place, theoretically. Everything's always highly theoretical in a Volkswagen till you get there. All right, there we go. Now it's in place, and now I can slide the retainer back in. That's locked in place. Take the little weatherproofing plug and do our best to shove it into its new home as well. It's a bit hard to see, but there is a grommet. If you look at the brake booster, and about one hand width to your left from the brake booster along the firewall back there, there is a grommet that is accessible, and that's probably the easiest one to get to. It does have a line running through it already. In my case, I think that is the line that the previous owner ran for, yes, it's the boost gauge vacuum hose running through there. So we're gonna go right alongside that through that grommet. And in terms of wiring, this relay is going to be hanging out up here. So this blue exciter wire, the control wire, is going to come all the way back. Let me see, how do we want to run it so that it isn't interfering with stuff? I'm thinking probably back either between the battery and the airbox. That might be the best way to run underneath, and then straight back, so I'm able to make sure it doesn't loop into anything that it's going to cause issues with. They gave plenty of extra length. I've done this before, and there's a lot of extra length on it, but since it's been a while, just trying to recall how I plumbed it so that we don't run into issues later. Go underneath the dash and catch it there. And I will take some zip ties and secure this along here so it's not dipping into the fans or anything before we're done. Underneath the dash, there are a few Torx bolts we need to remove just to get this bottom tray out of the way. That will give us access to reach underneath to the grommet and pull the wire forward so that it can pop through here at the control switch. And now we're going to search for our wire, which, all right, it's right here. Fabulous, so that was easy. I want to route it above things to where it's not going to interfere with pedals or any of that. So now to remove this, push in, turn it just slightly to the right and pull out, and this thing comes out. You might need both hands to release the connectors. You might be able to just squeeze both sides with one hand like so and remove the switch. The blue wire that we've just put through the dash is going to come up through the dash and end up plugging into this sucker right here. So I'm going to use the handy dandy grabber tool and fish that through the hole and get the wire up here to where it needs to be, and I will need both hands. Careful to not let this fall back into your dash because it's a pain to get back out if it sinks too far in there. So I like to hang an edge of it while you're doing this. Blue wire is going to go into terminal number 8 on this. All right, actually, yeah, just plug straight in. Fish the extra wire back through here, plug it back in, and we should be good on this end. Reinsert it, turn that slightly and pull it out, and that's done. Okay, now that that's connected to the switch, we want to take this extra wire. I'm going to draw through any extra that is still hanging out on this side. Looks like there's really not much, but there's enough that I should pull through a little bit more. And then I'll zip tie it up out of the way, both under the dash and under the hood. So let's check out our handiwork here, and it looks like, well, it looks good, but let's throw some power through it and see what happens. So key in the ignition, and we're going to go ahead and throw the switch on there. Oh, we do have a light in the switch indicating fog light, so that should work. Let's go ahead around front and see if we have function, and yes, the lower fog lights are both on, but I don't know if you noticed, but the top fog lights are not on, so I wonder if that's a bulb issue. We'll have to dive into that, but the wiring is working, so at least we know that we've got function. We're going to come back later tonight and see what the actual light output looks like on the road.
2 hours later.
Okay, it's now evening time, so let's see what these fog lights look like now that we can see what they look like. So just sort of position 1, just the parking lights. All right, and then when we pull position 2, we get the fog lights. So I did find some LED bulbs for the fogs here, so that looks, you know, better than not having them illuminated. These look like they have a decent amount of light they're casting. So let's take it on the road and see what it looks like. Just turn on the headlights also, just to see. So there we get the headlights and fog light combo. Let's go see what sort of illumination we're getting like on the road. So here we have the fog lights installed and on, and they definitely do cast down. I'm shooting uphill here, so it's let's compare it with the headlights also on. So this is off. Here we've got just fog lights, and now we add the headlights and flick on the high beams. Pretty good improvement in lighting. You know, definitely it's casting some hot spots on the road right in front of the car, but in conjunction with the headlights, it's lighting up a whole lot more, so I'm pretty happy with that. So the super cheap Amazon, eBay fog light, driving light, whatever you want to call them, they're not true fog lights, because fog lights have a very narrow, wide beam that is usually involving some sort of a fluted lens in order to avoid glare if you're actually driving through fog. So I would consider these more of driving beams, because they're putting more light out in front, although they are casting light to the sides. Honestly, yeah, they're all right. You know, it's more light than there was on the road before, so I'll be able to see better, which is helpful. Are they super high quality? No. Were they super cheap? Yes. I think they were under 30 bucks. So you get what you pay for. I don't even know if I can aim them, if there's any height adjusting. So I'll have to look into that when there's daylight tomorrow, and we'll see. I'm assuming there's probably not. They're probably just, it is what it is. And if that's what it is, then I'm fine with that. But anyway, there you go. If you were wondering about those super cheap fog lights, that's what you get. A little bit more light on the road. Not crazy focused, better than there was before, so I can live with that. All right, I'll see you next time. Tune in, subscribe, like, share, all that fun stuff, and let me know how I can be praying for you. All right, see ya.
And on that terrible disappointment, it's time to say goodbye. We'll be back.